Hello, today I'm going to talk a little bit about foreclosure process in Colorado, and the information that I'm using, I'll put a link in the description of the video here, but it's from the Frasconer, Joyner, Goodman, and Greenstein Attorneys at Law firm. So and you can also find specific information on each county website about the foreclosure process in that particular county. It does vary a little bit, and it's also different from state to state. So again, we're talking about Colorado. So first of all, I'm going to define a few terms as we go through this. So delinquency, what is delinquency? Delinquency is occurs the day after you miss a payment. Now keep in mind, most loans are due on the first of the month, the payment, and then they have a 15-day grace period. So you're not technically late until the 16th of each month. What is default? So default is actually when you are 30 days or more late, and then you go into default. Foreclosure is when a lender says the loan is in foreclosure. What they mean is that the loan has been transferred to a department internally that handles the foreclosures for that mortgage company. And that department has the responsibility of deciding what they're going to do about the default and if it's going to go to foreclosure or how long it's going to take. So once they make that decision, if they decide to go to foreclosure, they're going to send it over to a third party, an attorney that they probably will hire to handle that. They usually have a relationship with this attorney's office that does all their foreclosures. FHA loans cannot be put into foreclosure status until at least 3 payments are due and unpaid. So keep that in mind. However, a foreclosure on an FHA loan can begin before the grace period expires for the 3rd payment. Conventional loans, so a conventional loan is a non-government insured loan. An FHA loan or a VA loan is a government insured loan. So with conventional, they can be put in foreclosure as soon as the loan is in default, which may be only 15 to 20 days after the grace period ends. But most lenders, even conventional lenders, choose not to begin foreclosure until 3 payments are due and unpaid. They don't usually want to go to foreclosure. They want to work things out. And there's alternatives that a homeowner may have. They can work directly with the mortgage company. So for anyone watching who may be facing this situation, you're going to want to call the bank first of all and find out where you're at in the process, see if they can work anything out with you, perhaps a loan modification. Could also look at doing a forbearance. Loan modification is when they take whatever amount you've missed plus fees, they add it onto your balance, and they reconfigure your loan. It's almost like an internal mini refinance. Reconfigure the payments, add it to the end of the loan, and you move forward and you're good as long as you can keep on making your payments. Forbearance, which is something that became very common during COVID-19, is when they allow you to skip payments for a certain period of time, and then at the end of the forbearance you have to make up all those missed payments, which can be very difficult for folks if you've missed enough of them. It's different than a loan modification. So if they transfer it to an outside attorney and proceed with the foreclosure, the borrower is going to be responsible for the legal costs of this lawyer that gets involved, and it can be $2,500 or more just for those legal fees. The foreclosure costs and fees, including all legal fees incurred, must be paid in addition to back payments and late fees in order to cure the loan. That's another important term. And stop the foreclosure. The attorneys usually spend 2 to 4 weeks preparing documents, which, assuming the lender is foreclosing on a deed of trust, which is common in Colorado, it'll be sent to the public trustee's office for the county where the property is located. So Arapahoe County, Douglas, whatever the county is. So now let's talk about public auction. So when the public trustee receives the foreclosure documents from the lender's attorney, the public trustee will record a notice of election and demand, which is abbreviated as NED, and will schedule a public auction of the property 110 to 125 days into the future. So a common misconception that people have is that they're in default, they're going to lose their house, it's going to foreclose in a matter of days or weeks, and it can be very stressful and scary and confusing. But according to law, the attorney, the lender cannot foreclose on the property without this proper timeline. So it takes several months for this to take place. And the borrower has the right to cure the loan, as I mentioned, and that's dependent upon the borrower filing an intent to cure form with the public trustee for the appropriate county at least 15 days before the public auction of the property. And you can find out what the foreclosure sale date is by visiting the county website. It'll be all publicly disclosed there. The borrower will then receive the cure figures, the amount of money needed to reinstate their loan, within 1 week before the sale. And the public trustee's office must receive a cashier's check or other certified funds of the total amount due before 12 noon, 1 day prior to the public auction. And if this can be done with a cashier's check and the loan is cured and all the fees are paid off, then the foreclosure doesn't happen, even up to 12 noon the day before the foreclosure sale date. Okay, but if that doesn't happen and then we go to foreclosure the next day and it forecloses and the bank buys the property back, they enter their minimum bid amount and they buy the property back. So let's talk about redemption period for junior lieners or lien holders. If a home is sold at the public auction, it is followed by a short redemption period, during which time the junior lien holders, which is like the second mortgage or the HELOC, or the primary lien holder is the first mortgage, and then we have second mortgage, HELOC, whatever beyond that, or mechanics liens. Those are the junior lien holders. And they can pay off the amount bid at the auction plus allowable fees, for example, taxes, insurance, and any interest accrued per day made payable to the public trustee's office. And to receive those redemption figures, the intent to redeem must be filed at the county public trustee's office within 8 business days after the sale. Only junior lien holders whose liens were of record prior to the recording of the NED will be allowed to redeem. So they've got to be of record. They can't come in after the fact and say, oh, I had a lien against this property, or the seller owes me, or whatever. It's too late at that point. Deficiency judgment. This is something that's important to understand. If the debt on the home exceeds what the lender thinks the home is worth, which in our market today, that's not happening, but let's say that the home, there was like $500,000 that was owed on the home, and the lender only thinks that it's worth $400,000, then in that case, there's a deficit. It's called a deficiency. And just because the lender, the homeowner foreclosed on the property, walked away from it, they still could be on the hook for that deficiency, even after the loss of their home. And if a court can be convinced that the lender bid less than a good faith estimate of the property's value, minus holding expenses, at the public auction, then a deficiency judgment for additional debt can be avoided. Otherwise, the owner of the property will be held responsible for the deficiency amount. Now, on the flip side, if a home is sold after foreclosure and there are enough proceeds to pay off all the lien holders and fees, let's say that same numbers, same debt amount, they owe, that there's a debt of $500,000 on that property and it's worth $800,000, and the property is sold, who gets that money? Does it go to the bank? No, it goes to the homeowner. That is their money and they're going to keep that. All right, so that is how the timeline of the foreclosure process works in Colorado. If you have any questions about the foreclosure process, I would encourage you to go to the county website and see exactly how it works in your county, but this should be pretty standard across all counties in Colorado. Please also contact me if you have any questions. I'd love to help. I'm at seth@jensenteam.com is my email. My last name is spelled with an O, or my phone number is 720-989-1210. My team and I would love to help with any questions you have. Thank you so much.